Hey everyone, this is Electra. Thank you for watching. I'm going to talk about change and transformation today. A lot of people want to see change in the outside world, and I'm going to address this from a political perspective and societal perspective and how I think it needs to kind of happen. I've been through a lot of change and transformation in my life. Basically, for the last 20 years, I've been going through a huge transformation that I couldn't even imagine on so many levels. And what I have learned is any change that we need, that we want or need to see societally or politically, needs to happen on the individual level first. And that's an internal change. And then it turns into a physical change. Let me explain. So let's say, well, let's think about what a society is. A society is essentially nothing but millions and billions of little personal bubbles of influence, little personal spheres of influence and individuality, and an individual exerting their will to the best of their abilities in any way they can think of to do what is best for them in that moment. So we're working with that basic element of individuality on the physical, um, concrete level of a society, because this is what has to change. This is the level that has to change for people to suddenly start saying, wow, change is happening. Okay, things are moving forward societally, politically. What has to happen for that to happen is every single one of those millions of spheres of influence and bubbles of individual action has to enact change within themselves first. So how does that happen? As an individual, you enact change, in my opinion, by thinking of something that you don't want to have continue. I mean, I feel like this might be a little bit basic here, but what is something that you've been stuck in for a long time? Let me challenge you to something. What is something you have been either stuck in or like trapped in, something that you have known for a long time that you need to change, or it needs to change on its own? Like, this could be a marriage, this could be a job, this could be where you're living, this could be your city or your state, this can be your gender, this can be any number of things. I mean, it could even be the car you're driving. So my challenge to anyone would be, find something that you know has to change, and what do you have to do individually for that to happen? You may not know right away. Everything begins with a little spark. I'm going to relate this to the tarot deck. So a little spark, that's the Ace of Wands. That's that initial little spark of, it's not even an idea yet. It's not even that, it's so abstract that it's not even an idea. It's the very seed of an idea. And when that kind of grows into an actual, like a thought in your head of like, okay, maybe this needs to change, or maybe this needs to happen, you're going to feel one way about it or another. So this would be the suit of cups. And if you're familiar with the tree of life, I'm going to kind of go through that sequence. So we're going to go wands. Actually, I'll just do it. Okay. So you're going to have this little spark of an idea. You're going to feel a certain way about it. And then you're going to go through sort of like an internal dialogue or argument with yourself, or maybe even with other people, about what your idea was or thought. That's the sword suit. That is the realm of questioning yourself, other people questioning you, arguing, and it could also be constructive. If it's something that really needs to change, it should be able to hold up to some level of scrutiny. in my opinion. Maybe not like 100% scrutiny, because not everyone's going to be 100% wrong all the time. But once you have that little internal battle or dialogue or battle of wills with either internal or external people or beings or whatever you would like to interact with, it goes to the physical. So that's the pentacles. This is where something comes into reality at the base level of the tree of life. This is the physical realm, the concrete realm. This represents money, physical possessions, and that's kind of the steps you have to go through. So let's say I'm a generator. If you are into human design, I am a generator. I am a 3-5. And that means I respond to things and I have to expect a lot of failure in my life and I have to expect a lot of trial and error. And that has certainly been the case. And ever since I've known this about myself, I'm so much more at peace with myself and I don't feel like such a failure all the time. So how to change a society. This is going to be the avenue of delay, wait till the absolute, like only, there's going to be no proaction here. So like this could be a real world situation of our current political situation, our government continuing indefinitely, and how is it going to change if we are passive, which it very well could. Like that could happen. We don't have to be 100% active all the time to change things for the better. Sometimes it just happens on its own, and that's totally normal. But that something along those lines are what's going to happen and change our outer world. Things will start happening, reactions will start happening, and these reactions will lead to other events and other reactions. And it's like just a chain reaction that's going to lead to a final tower moment where things just utterly collapse. And I would think this would be something similar to what the Soviet Union went through in 1991. The government just collapsed. There was no war, there was no civil war, there was no revolution. It wasn't 1917 part 2. It just collapsed and it was over. And that was all. That's all there was to it. Let's say another situation where you want to be more proactive. You want to move to another state. Well, how did I know? Let's just say, okay, how did I know I want to move to another state? You're going to have a reason. You're going to have something that's initially driving you to think about it. So that's like the Ace of Wands. You're thinking about it. You feel good about it. You're like, okay. I actually feel good about that. My reaction as a generator is yes. My gut feels good about it. So I'm going to start looking for apartments. I'm going to start looking for jobs. And this is what's happening with me in my life right now. Just I use myself as an example again. I'm considering moving to the next state over from my current state. I don't really know what city yet. I don't even have a job. That's kind of like the crux I'm in, is I don't really know to pursue the job or the city. I mean, really, it's got to be the job, because otherwise, how am I going to pay for any sort of living accommodations? But so that's what I'm sitting with. I'm sitting with this uncertainty. There has to be a willingness to accept uncertainty, and the more you can accept that and be with it, be one with it, and almost like relish it, the better off you're going to be towards making a change. Where most people, I think, fail or drop out of this process is in this phase of waiting and seeing what happens. Most people this is where most people give up. They cave. They take the job that's way too beneath them and doesn't pay enough. And they saw a million red flags in the interview and they took the job anyway because they just didn't know what else to do. And there could be reasons for that, and that's okay too. But that's just an example of what could happen. The more you're able to live with this uncertainty and this nebulousness of what's going to happen next, that's kind of where that is going to happen. So like in my marriage, this was like a 2-year process at least. I kind of knew we were not going to make it, but it was almost like I had to wait for that climax, wait for that provocation to happen. And it's kind of like on a societal level with a war or a revolution. Things have to build to a certain point and then they just break. And yeah, if you have what kind of, so my challenge to everyone is like, what kind of change would you want to make right now? Can you even identify one? Because we cannot expect our overall society to start changing if we're not willing to be that change. I've personally lived through, I think, almost everything that could almost possibly happen, other than like death of a family member, knock on wood. So in that regard, I think I've lived through like my version of a political revolution. As far as my life is concerned, I have lived through the personal, emotional equivalent of a violent revolution. And so in a way, I think I've done my part to get that energy out into the world and into the collective. And I think that's what others have to do too. And there's another content creator on here that I watch quite a bit. And she has a saying that is, no change plus no change equals no change. You can't get change if you don't change. You have to add change to change. Change begets change. The more you do, the more you're going to want to do. And once you start that cycle, if it's for the right reasons, it's going to build on itself. You build momentum, and it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. It's easy to feel like I don't want to do anything. And then sometimes you need rest, and that's fine too. But it's also important to know when something has to be done, and you got to start making the changes where you can, right here and now, which is with the individual level. You can start thinking differently. You can start acting differently. You can start spending your money differently. That's something we can all do right now. That's a decision we make pretty much every day is, what do we buy? Where do we shop? What kind of car do I drive? If I drive a car at all. And do I travel? Do I travel by air or do I stay at home? And there's a million. These are like the questions we can deal with every single day to make a change in the outer world. If you don't if you don't go on an airplane flight today, that's one open seat that wouldn't have been there. And guess what? If enough people make that decision, that flight may not be. That flight might not exist this time next year if they have a long-term trend of less passengers. So, and that's how change really has to happen. I don't see how things are just going to spontaneously combust unless that tower comes out. That's where things do almost spontaneously combust, because it's literally a lightning bolt that strikes this Tower of Babel, and people are falling out. And it's one of the most violent cards of the tarot. So I'm sure I'll say a lot more about this. I think I'm going to stop it right here now, though. And thank you once again. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell me what changes have you done recently, or what changes would you like to do soon? And or can you not think of anything? Maybe I can help you. I'd be happy to respond to any comments in my comments. Take care. Be well. Bye.